Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 17th of April 2020. Friday morning here in Bali, beautiful day, sun is shining, things looking pretty good. So today let's have a look at a couple of trades, and we're going to start off by scanning everything with some extreme readings on the histogram, and then we'll move backwards and see if we can capture some stuff that's setting up potentially soon. I'm just going to turn on the scanner here. It's going to enable that for everything, and then see if that results in anything. We have our default settings here, so let's just switch that on and see what we get, if anything. Yeah, so we've got a couple of hits. Quite a lot. We have the pound Aussie and the Aussie Kiwi. So let's have a look at the pound Aussie. Let me zoom this, go like this so I can see the symbols. Pound Aussie. There we are. So they should be setting up. Let's see what the numbers are. The numbers are negative, so it should be setting up for a long. Yeah, so you can see we're just here on the 4-hour chart. So we've approached this area here, and now it's saying that we are approaching some pretty negative areas here, and I agree. But what I can see when I look at this, I'm thinking a little bit careful, because we do have some kind of buy zone stuff going on. If we focus on, let's go to the daily chart to find this. You'll notice here that we have all of this, and this is not really that pretty, as you can see, and so I'm thinking that will probably move lower, continue to move lower. We do have this here, so this would be the first area I'd even consider, but I wouldn't even consider this because, I mean, the beginning of the buy zone goes lower. I mean, there's no real turnaround here. We have a turnaround here which reacted to this child, which reacted to this parent, and so I'd certainly be looking lower for this. So for the time being, I wouldn't be doing anything. I'd be looking here and lower. So you can see that we had a test here, and then this tested the child, and now we're coming up here. There's a lot of kind of price going up, coming down, going up, coming down, and this kind of clears things out to the downside. So I'd be looking for the British pound to continue to move higher here, but we'll have to wait and see. But if we look at this, I mean, what it's telling us, it's telling us that we have a pretty strong difference in the strength of these two currencies in relation to one another, which is why it's flagging this. And it's saying that we could look to buy this area here. But notice again, if we focus on where price has already been, price has already been down to here, which is tested the second time, and which brings our attention to this little bit down here, which is something in here, around here. So I'd be more keen on waiting for price to poke into that area than I would be buying at this area here. This is just a clearer area. If we go to the hourly chart and have a look, you can see here, and this is where it is. So this is the area that we're interested in, right there. Okay, that's the interesting bit. So we have a little price goes up, we come down, we move up, we move sideways, and then this is where we release to go all the way up here. So this is an interesting area. On the 4-hour chart, it looks like this, and you can see pretty clearly down here about the 190-400 area. So price has still a little bit of a way to go. If we have a look at this, maybe put more data in just to see if we get any. Yeah, it's starting to go a little bit lower. So I'm thinking that it should move lower. It's going to move below this low and certainly move below this low. Yes, you also have to consider that on this chart, price is reacting to this, and so that's telling us that we actually have 4-hour supply in control, and so there's no need. When price left here, we didn't move this 4-hour supply, we actually reacted to it. So I'm thinking the price is going to continue to move lower. But given on the smaller time frames, the 5-minute, the 15-minute, we're going to have some intraday volatility at these areas and some small reactions. But for the trades that I like to look at, I'm going to want to buy a little bit lower. So yeah, keep your eye on this and see what happens. When we come back down here, I think we'll see some more things happening. Okay, so let's clear all of these off. We'll go and look at the next one, the pound Aussie. See what's sitting up there. Pound. Actually, we're on the pound Aussie and the Aussie Kiwi. And I just got into a trade here, just at this level here, and this was based on this information. So I was in this trade earlier and was stopped out, and the stop, it just touched my stop just here. And so, I mean, got back in the trade based on this information here on the histogram, and price is looking to respect that, as you can see here. So if we look at, I mean, what's going on, you can see that we're reacting at this here. So we have a little area here. We have demand, price came back, slingshot came up, we reacted to the child once, twice. This one sat on the parent, and then we cut through it, and now price is returning to that. So if we mark that one off, it looks like this. This is one that was removed, tested, and then this one is the one that took it out here. And this is where price came to. We actually came down to the low of the wicks, which is here. This is where we tested. Now we're looking to remove, rather to move low. We don't know if this is going to continue. We just want to see this to begin to move lower from here. So on the 4-hour chart, we look like that. On the daily, we just saw we came pretty close to that area. Really nice entry there based on the information here. And it didn't get in earlier because we were already in the trade. So when it got stopped out, it said, okay, we're going to sell higher, which it did. So we sold quite a lot higher. We have our stop above this daily supply and this 4-hour supply here. And now price is quickly, well, looking to wriggle lower from there, which I think looks okay. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Let me remove that. Good. And so now price is going to hopefully kind of wriggle down here to this area here or somewhere around there, and we'll see how that goes. So those are the two ones that are setting up. We had a trade on the Kiwi, American dollar, and this trade, this really moved. So we sold at this area here, and price came down. We got out here, if you guys can remember from the last video, and price went, we got out here and price went almost 2 times that down to this area of parent demand. Okay, so we went through this continuation pattern, we went through the child, we had a small reaction at the child, but price continued through the child, poked into the almost the opposite end of this parent, which is the last pancake on the plate, and then this is where we found some support for this, and now we're moving higher. So that's really interesting, I think. We have a look here on the histogram, and you can see here that we've actually found some, yeah, when price came down here, I mean, this was probably around here, so we would have probably got poked into this trade around here on this first test, and we had another test. We had 3 pushes, 1, 2, 3, but notice that on this one here we had a deep push, on this one we had a deeper push, but on the third one we had a shallow push. What's that? What does that mean? Well, that means that the price pushing lower is simply price advertising lower prices artificially to onboard some sellers. Okay, but you can see that the strength is not supporting that by any means. And so we had price going lower, we had price going lower, but then we stopped, and now we started to move higher, and then price moved away pretty handsomely, which is what we're currently seeing now. So this is kind of like this is maybe a stop hunt, how we had kind of tests here. We had another one here. If we just mark off the area here, see, we had kind of push, a really deep push on the opposing side of these lows here. And then this is where we found some support for price, and then we managed to attract some buying, and then this is where price left from. Okay, so very interesting there. So what we can also do, let's go to the hourly chart. And then I don't do this very often, but let's turn this on, the scanner, and see if there's anything on these time frames. I'm going to have to turn this to, we have the period alignment of, where do we have our period? Okay, sorry, it's looking at the active chart. Never mind, go like that. See if we grab anything. I'm not sure if we'll find anything. Nope. So let's go down a little bit further. We'll go 1.5. See if we find anything there. Yeah, we should do. Okay, we found something on the Aussie Kiwi, which is what we already looked at, which is interesting. So let's reset this. And the Aussie Kiwi is the one that we've already looked at. So we're looking at over bought levels as well. You can see how our price is moving up here, moving off this, and you can see that we're pretty high. You can see we're very high, and if we zoom out a lot, just to have a kind of see this data, I mean, you can see that, I mean, this is a pretty high level here. We're up here, we're down here. This is we take an average of the lows here. Let's say we're about 2.5, and here we're at about 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, and now we're kind of reaching that here, and this is met by a pretty interesting sell-off, and there's no demand in here, there's no demand in here. The only demand that is anywhere near current price is down here, so we're going to come down to at least this if this continues to move, which we don't know. That would be an interesting place, I think, there to look. But notice also that, I mean, price has already traded at these areas here. So we do have price moving higher, and then we popped up, slingshot was pulled back, and then we left. So we could see some price reactions at this level here. But we do also have some interesting areas below price. And the reason I mark this one off here is because on the 4-hour chart, this is where we kind of saw some tests where we had, this is kind of a flip zone, or whatever you want to call it, where we had an area where price respected historically. Let me mark those off for the accumulation testing. You can see here, and this one, it turned around at this point here, around this point here. Okay, and the area that caused price to move through here, so flip back, is from this area here. So this is an area I think that we could see maybe a bit of a bounce. Okay, and even though the software is getting out of the trades at about a 2 reward to 1 risk, price often moves pretty far beyond that. So this is about also being a little bit patient, waiting for these to happen, and then just sitting on your hands and really working on leaving these trades in to let them do their thing without getting too emotional about being in profit. Oh, I've got some profit on the table, I should take it. Just leave it alone. Make sure what you can do is you can move your stop to break even. If you'd prefer to do that, then there's no risk of losing money. But I know that, I mean, human beings, if they're always working within the law of contrast, where you have, if the market gives you, let's say $10, and then it takes it back, and then it's always showing you $5 or $2, then you are very kind of remorseful to the fact that you actually had 10 and now you're down to 2. Oh my God, what am I going to do? It's horrible. It's really horrible. But then if you're patient, you'll notice that then price goes up to 15, then it comes back down to 5 or maybe 6. And then when you're comparing that 5 and 6 to the 15 that you had, you think, oh my God, should I take that 5 or 6 or should I wait? But if you wait, you'll find often that price will go up to 20. Then it'll come back to 11 or 12, and then you're quite glad that you actually waited for the 11 or the 12. But at the same time, you're a little bit gutted because it went up to 20, and so it's therapy. It's real therapy, and you really get to examine yourself through the eyes of greed and fear, and it's real therapy. But I mean, having traded this algorithms for these past weeks, and I've learned to realize that, price doesn't go up to these levels and just turn around. It doesn't do this. It doesn't go up and then down to my target. It goes, we got stopped out on this trade here. We got in about right here, and it went up, then it went down. It went up and down. It goes like this, and you're thinking the whole time, oh, what do I do? What do I do? But the best thing is to wait. Okay, and here we were patient. We got stopped out, but we got in at this level here, which is a decent area. What's it going to do? Well, I don't know. We're going to get stopped out? Maybe we are going to get stopped out, but there's a very high likelihood that price is going to continue down for a little while. Is it going to? We don't know, but we have to just wait and see. We have the probabilities that are stacked to our advantage. So let's say we have a 51 or 53% advantage. We just have to wait. And fiddling all the time is going to do nothing good for our trading. And again, you have to remember, it's not about being right every time. It's not about winning this trade. It's about winning enough trades over time that you have your advantage, like the casinos. They don't win every spin, and they don't want to win every spin. If they won every spin, no one would play at the casinos. They have to be paying back a little bit to give people hope that they're going to win. There's a potential that they're going to win. And the trading is the same way. You have to You have to give something back to the market. That's kind of the expense of trading. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look on the bigger time frames. Okay, see what's going on here. So we'll whack that on and we'll do the scan and see what it finds. Maybe nothing. It found a lot, didn't it? Let's turn this off so we're not met with these too much. And let's have a look at all of these. Ah, there's a lot. There's a lot here on the daily chart. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at this one, the Kiwi, which we saw a second ago. So here the value is very negative, and so we're maybe looking to move higher. Also, you have to think about that these values are relative to the histogram and to the time frame, and so these are obviously going to change. But if we have a look here, it's probably going to be some huge price swings, and we can see here that we had enormous push down, and this is going to affect the mean. Okay, but you can see here that the robot was looking, or rather the histogram was giving us buy signals kind of around this price point here. Okay, and this is and the reason I say that is because we have the green line just here. Let me draw that in. You see the green line is just here, and so price, there's significant price below that, and we had this low, and this low, which correspond to this one, and this one, and the line is above that. So if we mark those off, the line is above that. So we're getting buy signals at around here. Okay, this one obviously would have been stopped out. But that said, these values would have been different because the histogram would not have skewed the data that much, because now this is where we've had those big pushes. Okay, so the data would have been different, the signals would have been different at the time. But you can see here that, I mean, price is very low, and so we're going to look to move higher from here for a little while because price is so low. Okay, let's have a look at the pound Kiwi. Sorry, the Kiwi yen. Not even close, and we're kind of seeing a similar thing. You can have these three pushes, and our price is moving higher. Okay, so I mean, historically, if we look here, you can see that, I mean, price doesn't just go down and then up. It moves in cycles. We have a cycle like this. What's it going to do? We don't know. We don't know what it's going to do. But what it normally does, it normally cycles up. Okay, when it gets to some kind of a mean, then it cycles down. Okay, and so you just have to be patient. You have to time them in line with these cycles, which is where this information plays a very big role. And you can do this on a price chart as well, but maybe that's a little bit difficult because you can't see the cycles of the currency strength indices, which you can see when you're using currency strength. This is just a really nice way to x-ray the entire market. Okay, let's look at the Kiwi franc. We're probably seeing something quite similar. Yes, where you're seeing we have our cycles here. Let me draw these in because they're quite nice to see, where you're having kind of a cycle from the upside to the downside, a short up cycle and then a down cycle. We don't know if this is a beginning. We don't know if this is a beginning of a really big up cycle that goes up, and so it brings this pair further north. We don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe this is just another small cycle that goes back to the mean and then continues lower. We don't know. But in the meantime, there's plenty of time for price to return to the mean, which is, let's say, here-ish. There's plenty of room for that to happen. Okay, so we just have to kind of look at the information here and find our location within these cycles. Okay, let's have a look at the Euro Swiss franc. This is a tough one. I've been trying to buy this for a while, and then I stopped trying to buy it because I realized that it wasn't done. Here it is. It wasn't done doing what it had to do. So if you go to the weekly chart, here we're approaching these. We have a really nice area of demand. We're getting close to it. And so I'm not going to do anything until we get to at least this area here. And if you look here, we do have our, let me draw these, we do have our cycles in place, how we had a really strong cycle. The data was affected by that big dump we had when the peg was removed and when it went up. Now we're going down. What are we going to do? We don't know. I mean, how long is this? How big was this in relation to this? it looks like we're about halfway through this one. And cycles, when you have data looking like this, I mean, you don't have the zero line, you don't have like a cycle that goes like that and then it cuts. It doesn't do that. It doesn't just like cut in the middle. It normally finishes the cycle. It doesn't just drop here. And this was in the middle of a cycle, and now we're starting, if we continue this, we're starting to go back up at weekly demand. It's not going to go like that. Okay, it's not just going to go up like that. Of course, it's going to look. I mean, this is price being advertised. Okay, we have the strengths of these currencies. They're competing. We have major flows moving in and out of the euro and out of the Swiss franc, and this is showing us kind of what's going on a really, really profound level. It's showing us so much data. If you guys understood what was the data that was used to draw this histogram, I mean, it's mind-blowing, and so it's giving us a tremendous insight into what's going on. And so, I mean, my guess is that we're going to move to this area here. So we're not there yet, and then we're going to start to move higher. Does that mean you have to jump in as soon as it gets there? Absolutely not. You don't have to do anything. What you can do is you can wait. Let's just mark this area off. Okay, let's say it looks like that. So you go down to the daily or the 4-hour, and you just wait, and you see how far away. Oh, we're pretty far away. You just want to wait and see what happens. And you can pay attention to the information here. And then you can see, I mean, many of these different patterns can occur at supply and demand. When you're reaching levels like so. Okay, and you can see here that price is, I mean, what's price doing? We have price pushing lower, but notice if I just take the readings here, let me mark off the extreme low. I mean, if I mark off the same low here, like mark off this one with this one, it's not quite there. I mean, the extreme low, the lowest is probably here. Is this lower than this? It is, isn't it? What about the strength of these two currencies? Does that tell us the same story? It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's telling us that the euro is picking up in strength relative to the Swiss franc. Okay? You can't see that in the price chart. If you're trading only the price chart, I mean, you're not seeing what else is going on. You're not seeing the real data. And this is also, I mean, this stuff is fundamentally driven. So if you pay attention to commitment of traders data, a gentleman in the trading room was sharing some really beautiful charts from a commitment of traders, displaying the commitment of the traders data, and it was showing a complete, almost a mirror overlap between currency strength and commitment of traders data. And so this is telling us that we have flows, I mean, institutional flows moving out of the Swiss franc and moving into the euro longer term. Does that mean it's going to go up now? No. But gradually, we're going to probably see this do something like that, which is what this is already telling us now. It's already telling us that we have the flows moving out of the Swiss franc and into the euro, but it's a very, very, very gradual process. And the whole way I got into supply and demand was that I read a research paper from about I think it was written in 2008, and I read this in 2011, and that research paper is posted on my blog. It's the oldest article on my blog on the Pipnotic.com website, and they talk about how the movement of liquidity is a very, very slow process when you look at a macro level, which is essentially what's driving price. And so I encourage you to go to the blog on Pipnotic.com, go to the oldest article, and there's a link to a research paper that talks about this. It gets a little bit mathematical and nerdy, but it's really interesting if you're able to understand kind of the gist of it. But it's a very gradual process. And if you look at the commitment of traders data, it's the same thing. It's a very, very slow accumulation of positions, both long and short. And it's a fascinating topic. And the histogram is telling you the exact same thing. Okay, let's have a look at the Euro CAD. The Euro CAD, that's a pretty big positive number, so I'm assuming that we're probably going to begin to move lower. Where is that chart? Euro CAD. Here it is. We're probably going to begin to move lower. Okay, so we're pretty high here. Let's have a look on the weekly chart. And we're really high, aren't we? I'd say it's a little bit too early to dive in to short positions, because I'm thinking that price will probably have to move up to supply before we see that. But you can see pretty clearly that we had a huge push higher and we moved lower. So I'd want to see price move up quite a bit before I'd look to sell. And you can see that we have a really nice area of supply at the 158.35. Okay, so looking to short, the major flows on the Euro CAD are telling us that we're looking to maybe short, maybe longer term, okay, which tells us that we have to be patient. We have to wait for price to move higher, and we have a pattern setting up that lines up with that thesis, okay. And so be patient, wait till price moves higher, and then begin to move out of euros and into Canadian dollars. Okay, let's have a look at the Swiss franc Singaporean dollar. Well, that's an exotic Swiss franc Singapore dollar. What's it doing? It's a very high number, so this is probably looking to move lower. We have a similar thing going on. We go to the daily chart where we saw this. Just seeing the same kind of thing. Okay, price is already we're poking away at this. What does that mean? Does that mean we have to hurry and get in? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. What we want to do is we want to find clues. I'd look for this to move higher, up to kind of something up here, and we have a few things here that are interesting. I mean, price has already reacted at this. Okay, we had test. Okay, so I'm thinking we're probably going to continue to move a little bit higher until we find something that's interesting. We have this. But notice with this, we've already been back to this level where here, beginning of the sell zone is here. And so ideally, we're looking to sell from here and above. If I remove all of these. Okay, this is an interesting area. So I think longer term, we could see price move back up to here and then move down. Unless we manage to move through this, and then we need to look at the supply that consumed, rather the bearish liquidity that's consume the bullish liquidity available at this area here, this price point that is currently holding price. Okay, so we have to wait a little bit patient. Okay, Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, Canadian dollar, Japanese yen here. So what's this? Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. This is a very negative number, so maybe this is looking to be bought or approaching attractive levels to buy. And you can see here on this chart. Let's go to the weekly. Man, we're really low. We're super low. We're very, very low. And we have here. Let's have a look at the one. Sorry. Let's go 1 times. Let's go 1 time the mean, which is the variant. And we're pretty much there. And the calculation is telling us that we have the mean value, and then we have kind of like variance of this data, and this variant is telling us kind of where we have the outliers, and the outliers are located pretty much where price came down to here. So this was telling us with a high degree of accuracy that we have an interest in buying at, let's have a look where, at here, at this candle here, this one just here. Actually, just to be sure, let's move in. Where do we have that strong push? Here. So on this white candle here. And isn't that funny? That candle happens to be an accumulation candle. Okay, so even though we had strength moving down, we had accumulation of long positions occurring at that point. And you know that we have accumulation of long positions because the following histogram and price readings are showing more of a positive data relative to this one here. So we have the histogram changing, but we also have price changing. So we're looking to move higher. A note here, we have this area here, this candle, and this one popped up. The low of this candle is here. Here we have the accumulation. That's exactly where price came to. Okay, so we have this one here. The slingshot was pulled back. We have our accumulation, our base here. The slingshot was pulled back. We popped up. We closed outside of this accumulation. This is where price came to, and now we're sitting here. What's going to happen? Well, we don't know. We have no idea, but we could just wait and see what happens. Do we have anything below? We do. We do have this. If we look at this buy zone, well, the buy zone is actually where price already came to, which is here. Excuse me. So we have this one here, price came back, the slingshot was pulled back, and then we left. But we didn't leave in a hurry, so I'm thinking that price will probably come down, retest these lows, maybe the 7,500, which is a nice area, and then potentially move away. Alternatively, you can have a closer look inside this little price nodule, which we can do for the sake of example, and identify those real levels. Okay, and here we have the parent-child relationship. We have the child, we have the parent. It's not very clear, so we'll even go to the 30-minute chart. If I have data, yes, and here you can see it. We had price come down, we had the white candle, can't really see it. White candle is closed above this one here, and so we kind of popped up, a push lower, another push lower into this white candle, and this is where we left from. So we have the real buying power available here from this point. I don't know if I can see 15-minute data. Yes, I can. That's interesting. So you can even see there's a lower one just there. Okay, so we had this one here, nothing happened. When price came down here, boom, we shot up. We moved through all of this. So this is an interesting area. Let's mark that off. Let's go to the 4 hour and see what that is. That's a 7,400 area on the money. That's an interesting area to look at, and that's in the bottom, so our stop could be way down lower. So let's say from here we can move it down lower, something like that. So we get in at 7,400, give ourselves a 100 pip stop. We know we're trading in line. I mean, we're really low, we're super low. Price managed to re-challenge these lows. I mean, look at this price imbalance. Here we have a complete liquidity void. What does that mean? There's nothing in here to stop price. We'll probably move up to here, or up to here, which we almost did before we managed to stop. And so price is probably going to gravitate up to the top end of here. This is where we have kind of some trading. If we take the average, maybe something around here, before we figure out what we're going to do, before the new fundamentals enter the market and drive it either through this to the upside or continue to push this pair lower. But there's plenty of room for price to go higher, but ideally we want to try and buy a little bit lower. Okay, let's have a look at the Aussie American dollar. This is a pretty negative reading. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, we're kind of already moving back up to here, so I wouldn't get too excited about this. Here we're really low, as you can see here. We have the one-time variant. Let's double that up. Okay, so we already kind of poked into that here, so we're kind of looking to move higher. We're already starting to return to some kind of a base or a period of like windows of value here. Around here, and we're getting pretty close to that, so I wouldn't do anything for the time being. I would wait for price to figure out what it's going to do. So let's jump over that, go to the Aussie Swiss franc, maybe pretty similar. Yeah, we got the same thing going on. Let's go on the 4 hour chart and see if we can see anything here. Here we're getting pretty close to kind of a positive values. If we zoom out, let's go like this. Yeah, we're getting pretty close here, aren't we? Let me move this out of the way. Yeah, we're kind of, we do the average-ish. Let's kind of go like here, down around here. We had this around here. We had this lower. Yeah, I mean, we need to see. Essentially, we can buy at demand because on the major values we're super low. So I mean we're super low. Look at this. And so I mean this can't go on forever. So I'm thinking we're probably going to begin to move higher, but we want to see proof of this in the histogram on the daily chart. Okay, so we want to see, I mean, ideally I'd like to see price have another run for the lows. Okay, I'd like to see that very much. I'd like to see price kind of do this and have another run for the lows, and maybe see the histogram do something like this. So we have something like this going on, and then I would be super comfortable buying this higher. Okay, that would be a very nice scenario. So another push towards these lows or very close to them, maybe just beyond them, and the histogram will likely not support that, and then we'll see another push higher. But we're probably going to have a bounce here. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, lots of space for speculation. Okay, good. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. That's a lot of data. But if you have any questions, please leave them as a comment below the video, or leave them in Discord. And thanks for watching.